Everyone, and welcome back. My name is Remy Perry, and I represent caregivers on the board of the Brain Injury Association of York Region. If you're caring for someone with a brain injury, you probably know that memory challenges can affect so much more than just remembering names or appointments. They can change relationships, confidence, and how connected people feel to the world around them. Today's guests work in the memory loss community, but I think you'll hear a lot of parallels to the experiences many brain injury survivors and their caregivers face every day. Today, I'm joined by Einat Sandler. She's Managing Director of the Memory Loss Foundation. We're with also Judy Cohen, who began that foundation way back in 2014. Finally, we're joined by Deborah Rothenberg, who is the Director of Operations of L'Chaim, also a memory loss facility here in Toronto. We're going to talk about the Foundation's proposed Moments Cafe program, a welcoming place where people living with memory loss and their care partners can connect, share experiences, and simply enjoy being together. Whether memory loss is caused by dementia, a brain injury, or something else, I think you'll find that there are a lot of parallels for brain injury survivors, and we can learn a lot from this conversation. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
We'll start with Judy. Tell us a little about yourself and the Memory Loss Foundation. How did it all start?
So it all started 2001 when I created L'Chaim Retirement Home. It's a dementia home for residents with dementia. Mm-hmm. And a couple of years later, many years later, I just thought how the community suffers. And not everybody can afford to come to a home like mine or other home that deals with dementia. Most of those homes are private and it's very costly. So I decided to create a foundation and to help people in the community to deal mostly for caregivers that deal, unpaid caregivers that deal with family members that have diagnosed with dementia. And we worked on it very hard and we did a lot of good things for the community. Then unfortunately I got sick and I stopped working on the foundation. And then I met Einat and she was very passionate about that and she's starting to revive the foundation back and we are doing very good things for the community.
You say you provide training to caregivers. What does that look like?
We provide training to caregivers, paid caregivers. I have a college that teaches PSW courses, and we teach them how to deal with people. What's special about P College, that's my college, that I put a lot of emphasis on the dementia part of the studies and give them special micro-credentials courses above the PSW to prepare them for next step to work with people with dementia.
So is this type of training available to unpaid caregivers, spouses, children?
Judy, I think that Remy's also referring to training that was provided through the Memory Loss Foundation for unpaid caregivers. So, for example, training either unpaid or paid caregivers hired by the unpaid caregivers, because unpaid caregivers usually need support and may have some respite. And we provide training through the foundation to be able to, I guess, enlighten them, encourage them, give them skills and tools that may not otherwise be available. And so we actually run that through the foundation.
And what form does that take? Is that online? Is that in person? Is it hybrid? How does that work?
We do both. We haven't done online, we haven't done in-person training pretty much since the end of COVID. So now we do provide it online. So there's online training, workshops, and that's usually how it's given over. And that way we can access people that are in areas that may not be in the North York area, reach people pretty much anywhere. So it seems to be the way to go.
And that is kind of what made me interested in this, as we're York Region, we're outside the city of Toronto. What has been the response from caregivers? How have they responded to that?
Well, I think I would tell you that all the people who take our training are inspired because it's information. First of all, the education is set up in a way that it validates the person, like we actually understand what the needs are, what the challenges are. When I say challenges, they're not just physical challenges. A lot of it are like challenges and we understand them, and we provide practical tools, skills to be able to help the person caring for somebody with a cognitive impairment or injury um, have more successful days. So the response from people who take any of these trainings or workshops is always positive. I mean, we don't get feedback from every single person, but the feedback that we get is always, thank you so much. This is wonderful. This helped tremendously. To many workshops, and this one's exceptional. Like, varies, but it's definitely positive.
Now, how would they, viewers that are listening to this, Deborah, how would they go about accessing this type of training? Would they go to your webpage? Do they call you up? How does that work?
Yeah, there's two ways that it happens. We have paid training, like the workshops that you paid for, and certified that workshop. Um, then there is through the foundation, open up certain slots and dates for people to register, and it's paid for by the foundation. So they kind of up throughout the year on a calendar basis. And into the Memory Loss Foundation website would be the best way to see those dates.
Okay. I noticed that you went to your website, and it's quite fascinating. You take an approach that uses Montessori's kits. And as an ex-teacher, I'm familiar with Maria Montessori and her research. Prompted you to choose the Montessori method in putting together these kits? Einat, could you answer that, or Judy?
No, that's
probably I'm the Montessori person.
That's right. That was idea.
Yeah, we found this like ago 2012, and reason why we chose Montessori approach. I mean, working in an environment with people that have dementia, we have lots of different approaches. There are lots of approaches, and all of them are good. All of them contribute something. But the reason why we chose a Montessori approach was because it was holistic. So, of course, people, when they hear Montessori, they associate it with children type of schooling and growth plan. The principles are very much easily applied to people that have impairment. And it's holistic because the principles can be applied to every area of life. So we look at cognitive, we look at practical life approach, we look at cultural and sensory. And so no matter what the person is interested in, no matter what the person's skills were in the past, principles can be applied that specific person and situation. And that's what we liked the most, because it was like no man is left behind. Anyways, that's why we continued with it. And we are not the creators of Montessori methods, dementia. This was initiated by Dr. Cameron Camp. And we very much, we learned, we studied it, we communication, all the people who did research papers and so forth. But one thing that we saw was it was very much a one-to-one approach. And a lot of times in community settings, are multiple people that you have to reach and engage and prepare their environment for. So we actually developed curriculum for long-term care facilities primarily, got extended to day centers and retirement homes, both in Canada and some places in the US as well. And we train people on the methods, and it's very, very successful.
So you train caregivers and personal support workers on administering it. Give me an example of a Montessori kit. What would that look like?
So let's be clear. A Montessori kit, in my world, is a very elaborate kit with multiple types of activities and instruction in areas that are cognitive, practical life, social, cultural, and sensory. And that massive kit is what gets sent to long-term care facilities. When we're reaching people in their homes, they're just Montessori activities. And an example of the activity is taking into consideration a few things. One is you have to set up an environment for somebody. So the biggest loss in, I would say, either dementia, Alzheimer's, or other cognitive, the biggest loss is the loss of executive function. It's that ability in our minds that allows us to manage our time, our space, initiate things, follow through, like choices. And so what happens is that as a result, it looks like apathy. It looks like a person is not interested. So we have to fill that gap, and preparing an environment for a person is the way to do it. So everything is meant to be already prepared for the person. And choose for one of our male participants, okay? Was a tinkerer in the garage, somebody who, around the house, maybe was in construction, maybe was a laborer. What I would see when I go to facilities are people doing simplified activities that look like Lego, okay? We'll do is that we will have pipes, fasteners that resemble, or HVAC, and the whole system would be set up in front of a person, and this allows the person to view what's in front of them in their spatial gate, so they don't have to search somewhere else to be able to have to go and initiate something. And it's something that is familiar, it's something that is meaningful to them, it's real life, like they're real objects. And so therefore they can kind of same thing that they would do with Lego, but it's not childlike, and to assemble the pieces and assemble and make an apparatus out of it, or whatever it is, sky's the limit. Another practical sense, let's say somebody used to, everybody did food preparation. Okay, let's say if I were to tell somebody who is cognitively impaired, let's make a vegetable soup. That means I'm asking them to recall information. They may not be able to do that. But if I were to simplify, if I were to put a zucchini or a potato in front of a person with a peeler, because it's a real object and it is something that has been done many times before in their life, they would know how to peel the potato, peel the zucchini. And so we simplify the steps, but using real life objects. So those are a couple of examples. Lots of other examples of how we simplify as well. We have matches. Again, instead of doing puzzles that are infantile, we have an array of matches. They are called cognitive picture sorts, and they come in various types of themes. So if somebody's interested in fashion and jewelry and makeup, in American convertible cars, tools, in food, whatever it is, there's a whole slew of them, and you get like a stack of pictures, and they match the pictures onto the cards. And so these are examples of preparing the environment and being able to engage in a real-like activity, but in a simplified way, so that the person can do it in a fail-proof way. Sorry, I could speak about this all day. So
you're addressing multiple modalities. There's psychic, there's kinetic, there's problem solving, there's visual. You're also basing it in interest. Now, you mentioned something like cognitive challenges. Do you think the system could be adapted to someone, for example, who is suffering memory issues that isn't elderly, help them with their cognitive challenges?
Yeah, really good question. Like, I think that Einat and I were actually talking about this just yesterday. So, first of all, I think it really just depends on the person. If somebody has a brain injury, on what type of brain injury, is it, rehabilitate? There usually is a focus when people have brain injury to rehabilitate. And so everything that they do is kind of a building block. The answer is yes. And I'll give you an example. We have cards that are like starts off one way and then just gets more difficult. So they're fill in the number cards, and have numbers from 1 to 10. I wish I brought it with me from my office. I could show you a picture. You have numbers from 1 to 10, and they're big blocks. So again, simplified, very adult looking, nothing childlike, okay? Missing numbers. So you have like a missing number 5, and the person fills in the numbers. Okay. 1 to 10 is a very simplified way do it. But what we see is that when people practice it from the beginning, they actually can go further and further. It's kind of like that muscle memory that builds in the brain. When you're dealing with like dementia, you're going to call it procedural memory. You're going to call it that long-term skills and habits. Montessori says what the hand does, the mind remembers. So we do see people building in their cognitive capabilities by starting off simple and then just expanding forward. That's just an example of how somebody can grow in their cognition.
So you're working based on the principles of neuroplasticity as well. For someone suffering brain injury, this can be incredibly helpful. Do these kits cost a fair amount?
They do cost a fair amount. So they're, again, the kits are elaborate and they're meant for long-term care facilities. So, but people at home, yes, objects, train in two ways. We how to teach caregivers how to use objects in the home to set up environments that will have the same purpose. And then there are people who want our specific activities, and they start at about $150, like an activity. So
but
it's costly.
for someone who doesn't have that budget, they can use things around the home and the
Absolutely.
principles that you're teaching them, the training that you're giving them in order to achieve the same effect with someone at home. And I do know when I first heard about the Memory Loss Foundation and your work with the elderly, did a little bit of research, and I found out that people who have suffered a brain injury are almost twice as likely later on in life to suffer memory loss issues. So this is what primarily interested me. And there are people suffering memory loss issues right away with a brain injury. So these are, and even if they're not suffering memory loss, if they're suffering cognitive fatigue or fuzziness or any of that, then definitely help. Your case, are a lot of your or some of your some of the people that are benefiting from them, have they had some kind of brain trauma such as stroke or other type of brain injury, not just dementia?
Yes. So I'm dealing with an elderly population. So I've cared for many people or continue to care for many people who have had strokes. I would say that that's the primary form of brain injury that we're presented with, and usually does progress into like.
Okay, I jump over to Judy. What are some misconceptions that families have when a loved one begins experiencing memory difficulties?
Denial. Denial.
Could you expand on that? What do you mean by that?
They don't understand, they don't believe, they don't accept the fact that somebody was diagnosed with dementia. They don't understand how the disease down, there is no going up and no cure, and just in denial. They don't understand. They think it's I don't know what they think. What do you think they think? Because they don't accept when they come to the home and we tell them about behaviors. First of all, they're shocked. They never, because most of the children, they don't live with the parents, right? So when their parents come to the home and we tell them some of their habits, like no, it's not me, it's not my mother, it's not my father. And then when we start to explain to them that some behaviors are part, why she would tell me, why is my mother okay with me, but she's not okay with the caregiver? Why is she yelling at the caregiver, but she's not yelling at me? They don't understand how the disease goes. And that's finding the most challenging problems with the families, really.
Is it also because it moves so slowly sometimes when dementia sets in? It's not,
It moves slowly, but it starts fall, it goes very fast. And when people change environment, like when they move from the home to a retirement home, there is a big change in the environment, and sometimes it affects them not the best. But you have to think about the safety of those people, and this is number one for everybody, because people are not, when they have dementia, they're not safe to be at home. You won't believe like they can do. They can have a sandwich with a toothpaste. They can have wander a lot. Like there's this big safety issue. So have to be in a place that safety is number one. And I find with families, this is the most challenging part.
And that was my next question is, what is the impact that memory loss tends to have on the relationships within families?
Yeah, I deal with a lot of families. I spend a lot of time speaking to them. And well, Judy was absolutely right. Not all families, but some families are very much in denial. It's very hard for them to accept. But even the ones that aren't in denial, it's still really hard for them to accept. Imagine you have a spousal situation where you have a husband and a wife, and they've been together for so many years. Their nuances are so intertwined with each other. And then all of a sudden, one spouse, the cognitive, and all of a sudden the relationship changes. It's frustrating. It's hurtful. It's sad. The
guilt, they feel so
tremendous skills, but even the approach of how to handle a lot of the situations, again, and that, we're discussing this, that when you have an unpaid caregiver, much easier to implement new tactics, new approaches, new care for somebody who is cognitively impaired. Whereas when you have a family member or a spouse who has deep-rooted emotional connections to the person and a lifetime history with them, for them it's very difficult to actually see the impairment and to start implementing therapeutic approaches to the situation. So I think that that's a really big challenge.
Many times members feel it's something that is very strong, although the person is still alive, but it's like in front of their eyes. And one of the things that the foundation, one of the programs that we did like years ago, it's a conversational group, groups with that is expert for to grief. And they just shared experience and she talked with the family members and found it very, very helpful.
One of the things that you talk about, let's get to the Memory Cafe. I think you're calling it now the Moments Cafe, is one of the things that it's meant to address, Einat, the isolation problem. I imagine that not only are people who are experiencing memory loss pulling away from their loved ones, from their caregivers, but they're also pulling away from society in general because their memory loss makes it very difficult for them to interact with people. Tell me how the Moments Cafe, tell me a little bit about the Moments Cafe, where it's being used around the world, and what going to attempt to address that isolation.
So the model of Memory Cafe, it's a well-known model. So we see it in the US, UK, Canada, and other countries, other communities. It's not something that we invented. The idea around the Memory Cafe is that caregivers with their loved ones that experience memory loss coming to a very warm, welcoming, supportive environment where they can share experience, when they feel where we have meaningful activities such as art, music, other types of have icebreakers, and the idea is to help with this isolation. And it's not something the idea is not to force someone to participate. If someone doesn't feel that they want to participate, it's okay. But the idea of being among people that feel that they are like you, it's something that is very helpful. Told about the Montessori approach. So our idea with the Moments also to have this kind of activity like sing along or a seminar about art, whatever we decide to do, but in the same time to set up the environment with Montessori. So each person that comes to the Moments Cafe can find something to do without pressure, and they find that they feel that they can do something meaningful.
So, I think that not being judged is a big thing too. They can come to a place and not being judged.
Yeah. By the way, Judy talked about the first reaction about the denial. It comes from a very strong stigma that unfortunately people still have around the memory challenges and memory loss. So when we thought about the name of this project,
right,
Memory Cafe, it might be something that still people feel that they might be embarrassed to go to. The stigma is still there. So Moments Cafe, it's not about the condition, it's about the human experience. So we said it's better to change the name, and this is the name that we chose.
So that you make it more attractive, particularly for the caregivers, not so much for the people with the memory loss, but also, although that has an effect as well. So the way it differs, for example, our Brain Injury Association that I belong to, we have all sorts of activities that are of use for people who are suffering injury. And the difference, I think, with this, if I understand you correctly, is that it is backed by the principles of memory loss. You use the Montessori method, you engage the modalities, and you have the caregivers. They come with them to help them participate in it. Whereas in our cases, we have a lot of participants who are not accompanied necessarily by a caregiver because they're not suffering severe memory loss. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, they're supposed to come with the caregiver. Again, there will be option for Montessori activities, but every session will have a dedicated, it can be bingo, it can be around art, it can be something around music that the group can have. But if someone feels that it's too much, so they will always have the other that they can.
And is this a daily thing or is it a weekly thing? Is it just open as a drop-in? How does this work? Will it work if you get the funding for it?
We schedule the sessions. For now, we are looking for funding for a monthly session. And hopefully, if we will get enough funding to have it even twice a month, it can be really, really useful for the community. I would also, if we already have the facility to do this kind of sessions, we have a fully accessible facility for this. We just need the funding and start running the program.
And when you say the facility, this is the one at Dufferin and Shepherd here in Toronto?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of who can come, anyone? People living in the city of Toronto? Can people come from other areas?
Everyone is welcome.
And will there be a cost?
This is why we're looking for to have clear funding for this program, because we want to make it free of charge.
Okay. And in terms of who can come, not just geographically, is there an age cutoff? Do they have to be elderly? Do they have to be suffering from dementia?
I would say that we're focusing on older adults. This is our main focus. But if there's someone who is younger, but still experience this social isolation, or still need this kind of respite, and want to talk with people that might be a little bit older, it's not a problem. As I said, for our perspective, everyone is welcome.
And you're looking also for social connection, not just people doing activities, they would be interacting with each other.
Yeah, the main idea around people will come to a place when they can share an experience, when they can have think about new ideas about how to react to situations at home, or just feel that someone understands them. Because people who are caregivers for someone with memory loss, sometimes they feel isolated even when they are surrounded with people, because they feel that people do not understand them. So when you come to a place where everyone is in your situation, most of the chances that you will feel welcomed and understood, and you will feel like this new energy, a full battery after this kind of.
So it's as much of a benefit for the caregivers of someone with memory loss as it is for the people who are dealing with it.
Yes, for both. We're looking at both the caregiver and
have any stories? Do you have any that you can tell me about where you've seen? Because again, Deborah, you run something that's similar. You've seen that isolation has been lifted, where caregivers really benefit from attending and meeting other caregivers.
My environment is a little bit different, but I'll tell you where the magic is. When you have people now, I'm not talking about people who are cognitively impaired at the earlier stages or mildly. I'm talking about people who are a little more huge. So when we bring a group of people together and everyone is engaging in directed proof types of activities, something very magical happens. It looks like a cocktail party. So even without people having the ability to start engaging or initiating engagement or social engagement, by sheer fact of everybody doing something, and there always has to be a facilitator. So that facilitator is making sure that everything is running in motion. It really does feel like they're participating in a cocktail party or in a social club. And this is kind of magic that happens. So it's not traditional, because traditional would be that you walk into a room, you talk to the person next to you, you make a connection, or somebody introduces you. But obviously this component cannot happen. But we're recreating. So in my world, what we do is we recreate and facilitate the same type of result using modalities, but the result is actually the room actually reads that way. And that lets people who would be isolated, make them feel like they're very much in a social environment. Like Judy and I always like say, kind people walk in, they're like, oh my gosh, it looks like they're on a cruise ship. Everybody cognitively impaired, and we shut the lights off, everyone's going to fall asleep. Look very different, but they really do. We really like, this image of a social environment, and it feels like a cruise ship. It's such an important component. This like to create a socialized environment for people who have cognitive impairment.
So you're giving them a focus where I talk about a cocktail party. At a cocktail party, people have all of the ability to just simply interact socially and pick up that. But you're taking sort of pressure off people to have to socialize with each other. Instead, they're focusing on a simple activity. The socialization kind of happens organically, I guess you could explain.
It does. It happens organically. And also remember, it's not just organically that they're doing it. What brings it to fruition is having a facilitator. You need to have somebody who has the bird's eye view of what the goal and result should be. And they facilitate that whole system of everybody, something. Now, also I should add that it's another important feelings are so important. Even if somebody can't communicate their feelings, they still have feelings. And the feeling that somebody has when they're successful at something is, would say it should be like one on the list. So of importance that when they engage in something, if they can't do something, it's frustrating, it's embarrassing, you get agitated, their self-esteem down. And when somebody does something that is successful and they're able to do it, the total opposite happens. All of a sudden, they have self-estimate, they feeling confident, smiling. And we want to recreate these moments like many times throughout a day.
And I think that Moments Cafe, if people are being busy, maybe the caregivers could have some relief and talk to each other, get ideas, maybe how I deal with that, help about to each other, because they all have the same issues at home, right? So because a lot of the patients, they can do their activities themselves, so the caregivers could be talking to each other a little bit or sitting in a group, and just they need the social. A lot of the spouses caregivers especially, they don't leave the house, they can't leave the house
because looking after someone with memory loss is such an all-encompassing 24/7.
You can't leave them alone. They can open the water and not shut it off for hours. They can put something in the gas and it burns. It's dangerous. You can't leave them alone. So it would be some kind of a respite for them as well.
Yeah, they know their loved one is in a safe environment.
We always will bring a couple of PSWs from my facility to help out if somebody needs to go to the bathroom and need help or something. Just give the caregivers, usually the unpaid caregivers, a little bit of a relief.
Yeah, I like how you're calling them unpaid caregivers, because they have the same job but less training and they're not paid for it. You see this program expanding perhaps to other locations?
I can say that one of our challenges is not necessarily other locations, is to think how we can make it an online program. Because specifically in Canada, for example, the winter is very long. Cannot leave, or it's very difficult or risky to leave the house winter time. There are many rural communities. So now we are building a model that will be able to deliver this Moments Cafe in type of, and we're thinking about just sending the activities at people's home, and then do the activities with all the people together. So let's say we are doing, so before the session, we will send the activity to the people's home, and then we will do it all together with a little bit of icebreakers or something interesting in between, something that they will feel, again, even if it's winter, even if they're in rural communities, they will feel that they're part of something. This is our main goal.
What you're mentioning actually does remind me very much of what we try to do with BIAYR. One of the positive effects of COVID is that it convinced us that many of our programs can be delivered online and have an enormous amount of positive effect because the York region is such a geographically large area. Members who often don't work and who do not drive, number one difficulty that they have is transportation. Also financial difficulties accompanied by their loss. And so many of our activities we find can reduce social isolation, like what you're talking about. Reminds me very much of, in particular, we have our Christmas party every year, and sometimes it's in person before it's in person. But for a lot of people who simply can't attend, we send out gingerbread kits, and they get to make little gingerbread decorations, or gingerbread women. We have a Christmas trivia. We do all sorts of things online, and it reduces that isolation. The support group, for example, Moments Cafe reminds me also of the BIAYR support group, which is started out once a month because of the transportation issues. Now is every 2 weeks and is enormously, I would say, the most important that BIAYR has, reducing social isolation of people, not necessarily with memory loss, but with brain injuries and in general. I can see how that would be a really successful addition to the Moments Cafe, is to bring it online, and to send out those kits, small cost or hopefully funded. Who are you approaching for funding right now?
Mostly grants. This is what we're did until now, but we're starting to work on partnerships with organizations, sponsorships. Our goal is to start, let's say, in the fall, not after, just start in the fall, and to create this kind of community. So in the winter time, we can we'll be able to do the online program.
And so these are government sponsors that you're looking at, or are they private sponsors?
And partners that I work with.
Oh, so we say partners that you work with, retirement homes?
Mostly agencies, because you would like to advertise their agencies in case somebody needs some help with the private caregiver. So they would sponsor a session so they can bring their flyers, the brochures, and talk about their agency rather than other agencies. So some people are just nice people. They like to just donate.
That's wonderful. And we find, as a brain injury association, we have some very generous sponsors as well. We don't even offer as a charity. They just want to make a difference. We have personal injury law firms. We have physiotherapy firms. We have therapy as well. They benefit. They can put on their website that they help us. But I think mainly they participate because they donate. They want to make a difference. Online. One of the things that intrigued me when I went to your website and in my with both yourself and Einat, you talked about AI training, how that can really benefit people, memory loss and their caregivers. Could you maybe expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. When we decided to relaunch the activity of the foundation, we held dozens of conversations with seniors, with the active living centers, other organizations, and the digital literacy is something that always came up on the conversation, that still older adults feel overwhelmed and feel like they cannot overwhelmed with all the rapid technology around them. And I personally, I see it, let's say, in my family WhatsApp group, that my mother sends some kind of AI-generated photo, and she thinks that it's real, and we say, it's not real, it's AI-generated, and you see the gap. And the AI, it's crazy how fast it goes, and we also see many seniors that want to learn about it, but they don't know where to start. So we said, okay, we want also to address this pain point seniors have. So currently we have 3 different workshops. They are different, but they are not so different. One is for older adults, called it Smart and Safe, Artificial Intelligence for Older Adults. Today I have one going to senior active living centers and retirement homes. We're also looking for funding to reach as many people as possible. And we're doing in this seminar, we show them what is AI, we explain how AI works, show them how it can help them in their daily life. But also we put a lot of emphasis on safety, because AI is a great tool. I'm using it all the time, but you have to know what are the concerns around it. So this is session that we find it very, very successful. We also did a survey, the sessions, and we see really amazing results. And they just ask for more and they want to learn more. Also put a lot of focus, for example, on text to text, conversation mode, all the problems that maybe someone with the older adults, he has difficulty to type, or they prefer they not see so well. So we also put a lot of emphasis on all the, forgot the word, accessibility, all the accessibility issues that older adults may have. Another workshop that also is already running and we see great results is AI workshop for caregivers, especially PSWs and frontline care workers. And then the workshop is different. We show them how the AI can help them in their professional life, but we put almost all the efforts to explain all the safety issues. That, for example, if PSW goes now to a person with a brain injury and help them in their home, how they can use AI in a safe way, that they cannot, for example, not to put a social insurance number in the AI, not to upload any photo, not to put any, not to ask a professional question about the condition of their patient. There's so many issues, so many risk factors around home care that we said that we have to educate the PSWs and the other frontline care workers. So we also see a really big demand, and it's a very successful workshop. And the third workshop that we are working on is the AI specifically for caregivers, the unpaid caregivers, the family members. And then we want to show how the AI can help them. Of course, to address the privacy, the risk, all these things that I think it's important, but to put more emphasis on how, for example, to prepare for with therapy, how you can navigate all this information, things that we can really help them in their daily task of being a caregiver. So this is the three workshops.
Wow, that is quite the range. And it's particularly interesting when you mentioned the caregivers. Now, you talked about the dangers of uploading photos, of uploading information to AI. What are the dangers? Specifically, what do I have to worry about if I'm asking about a particular condition of my client or of my loved one?
Once, for example, you're typing regarding your loved one, the AI is processing it and we don't know where the information goes. We don't know yet. And even if it's a very tool, for example, the physician uses this tool and we know that it's a proof tool with all the boundaries that needed. But let's say just ChatGPT or Gemini or any other public AI tool, once you put the information, it becomes public. You don't know where it goes to. And even if now you know that no one will have access to it, it moves so quickly that you don't know what will happen months after. So we just put the boundaries and we talk about all the risks around the privacy. Also, another issue is the misinformation, because anyone who uses AI tools know that you ask something, let's say you ask ChatGPT something, and it sounds very confident. But it doesn't mean that it does not make mistakes. It many times makes mistakes, and people feel that since it's very confident, so it must be 100% true, and it's not. And people even think that it can replace the physician or other professionals, which is also can put their loved one in a very big risk, because the ChatGPT doesn't know.
Because these large language models are designed to reassure everybody and to sound like your best friend, and say, wow, you're so intelligent. What a great question. That's
Exactly.
lovely. And
Yeah.
Not only that, we also show in our workshops how easy it is to generate photos, to generate messages. And then through this, many times we're doing it as a fun activity, but we're showing them that not every photo that you get, not every voice message that you get or an email, it means that it's like, and it's true. You need to understand how easy today is to make this generated content. So it's another thing that we are talking about. This is like the core of the seminar or the workshop that we are delivering.
but then you turn around because again, you said that AI can be enormously helpful, particularly for someone suffering cognitive issues, whether that's a function of dementia or otherwise. Do you actually teach them how to access ChatGPT, Claude, whatever the AIs that they're using safely?
More general, we are not showing them every step in the road. We are showing them how it looks like, how you prompt, how you're doing it. Not if you ask if you really need to teach someone, it cannot be in one seminar. It needs to be at least three or four sessions, even one-on-one if someone has so you need to really have this person the exact needs that they need. Every seminar, we give a handout with the safety rules that they need to remember. And we are telling them, take it to your home, remember the safety rules, put it on your refrigerator. So we are trying to also to live a practical after the seminar. I think when there's memory challenges, the seminar might be a little bit, again, it might be to need to have more hands-on with specific with the person with the memory challenges, but definitely to teach the caregiver how to do it is something that is possible, and we see that it's working. And in the surveys, they say we definitely going to use after the seminar. So we know that.
So for someone with memory loss, with someone at that end, the pitfalls of receiving information, of receiving photos and believing it when it's not actually true. And on the caregiver sort of the things, it's the research that a lot of caregivers tend to do, trying to help their loved ones, perhaps being fooled and giving the wrong advice. Is that kind of a synopsis of what you just talked about?
Repeat the question again.
So for someone with memory loss and cognitive issues, it's more receptive. They're not actively using AI, whereas the caregiver is using AI to research and perhaps not getting an accurate result.
Exactly. But again, when we talk about memory loss, it can be a mild cognitive impairment. It's really depend on the condition of the person. Because it's hard to say anyone who has memory challenges cannot use AI. It's not what I'm saying.
Right. Okay.
That's why I'm saying that it really depends on the condition of the person. So it's hard for me to say this seminar fits all with the memory challenges. But for people who do not have memory challenges, this seminar definitely can be something very. For those who have memory challenges, it depends on the condition. It's hard to tell.
So someone with mild memory challenges would be really attracted to AI because if you don't have any memory challenges, using the internet is often quite frustrating. I think a lot of people, when AI showed up, they went, wow, I don't have to do this endless Google search and read 400 different pages and decide which one is which. You know, an intelligence out there that I don't really understand, but it'll go and figure it all out for me and tell me what I really want to know in the end. But that's not necessarily going to be accurate. And you alert people to that, and then you take it from there. Okay. You're not teaching them actual prompts. You're teaching them the pitfalls and what to avoid rather than what to do.
We're teaching them both. We're teaching them how, first we show them how the tools are very user-friendly and they don't need to feel intimidated by them. We show them how it works. Half of the seminar is live demo. And we give the audience to choose what they want to see, what they want to prompt. We show them we're not teaching exactly how to write a prompt, because we don't have enough time. We need multiple sessions for that, of course. But anyone who uses AI knows how user-friendly it is. But you also need to know the risk. But the thing is, when you said it, when we have AI, you don't need to go to Google and look at through dozens of websites. Many older adults, almost all of the older adults that I meet in our seminars, they're afraid even to try. So they fear from it.
So new.
Yeah.
It's not something they're used to.
Exactly. It's a new tool. So the goal is spark curiosity to make them feel enough confident to try this new tool. I'm positive that once you're trying it, you see how easy, but just try and see how user-friendly it is, but be aware of the risk.
Do you find that the people who attend your seminars, I assume they're online, their seminars? They're in person. Okay, so at one of your locations. Do you find that people are actually quite surprised at how easy it is to use AI? And
they are amazed of how easy to use, user-friendly it is, how it can really help them. We always start with a birthday card for one of the participant grandson or granddaughter. We generate photos. We do really nice things and fun things that related to their daily life, and they're amazed. They're really, really enjoying it, and they ask for more. So I think it's the best.
That's great. So you start out with something positive. I remember I was dealing with an older person interacting with AI, and one of the things that they were surprised at, they thought they had to type in everything to the AI. They didn't realize you could actually just speak to it and it would speak back to them. They were just amazed. And they looked at me and went, "Who is that?" And well, it's not really a who, but it can be, correctly, it can be pretty helpful. And that's not just for someone with memory loss. That's anybody who's, injury or not. This sounds pretty exciting. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to highlight that you are hoping to accomplish in the next year or so?
We just say that everyone who listens to the podcast, they can into our website. We're gonna have a free seminar, Smart and Safe seminar around the AI. I think July 21st in our facilities. They are welcome to come without any cost. So, and follow up. We will hopefully the Moments Cafe will be something that will be available to the public soon, and then we will hope to have more programs.
Wow, this is pretty exciting. I'd like to thank all three of you for attending today and these sharing with us both your knowledge and your passion for supporting people with memory loss and other forms of cognitive impairment. This is amazing. I hope everyone that's watching this takes away something, and I think what is important, what I gathered from this conversation is that it's the connection, it's the rid of the isolation that really, and it's not really meant to do this alone. We need that support, and you guys, you people are with that. So you again, Einat, Judy, speaking with me. I think our listeners and our viewers will really from this. And viewers, if thank you for listening. If you find anything in this that is real benefit to other caregivers, please feel free to share it. And we will talk to you again sometime. Thank you, ladies, and we'll talk again as well. Bye now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.